Hello everybody. From next week until basically Christmas, we have an incredible selection of cars lined up for you to enjoy on the channel. Been working for quite a while to bring it to you, and I'm very, very proud with what I have managed to achieve. And so with that in mind, I thought that actually I should do perhaps a little more relaxed video before we get into what is a fairly intensive release schedule. And so today I wanted to answer two questions and use this video as a springboard to ask you to ask me whatever it is that you'd like. I haven't done an Ask Me Anything Q&A, whatever you want to call it, in quite some time, so it's a little bit overdue. So if you've got a question for me, channel related or otherwise, and it's sensible or at least mildly amusing, please put it in the comments below and I will answer it in a future video if I can. Now, two questions I want to answer today because I just feel like it, to be honest. One that I get asked all the time, and one that I'm almost never asked, but is actually kind of important to talk about. On YouTube, we see a lot of videos about how much money people can make. You know, everyone thinks that all YouTubers make lots and lots of money. And it is very true that a lot of them do. But coming from a film background, I can see a real parallel with my new career and my old one. People always look at big blockbuster films and A-list celebrities and Hollywood stars and go, wow, look at how much money they make. And yeah, they do. But how many thousands of films were made last year, do you think, that were not Avengers Infinity War? That didn't even break even, that didn't make their budget back, where people worked, for weeks on end for basically minimum wage to try and make something that they just loved. YouTube is a lot like that. Now, I expect I'm probably not the only YouTuber that you watch, but if you're here anyway, cheers, thank you very much. However, take a moment to think about all those YouTubers that spend a lot of their own time and effort and often money to create content. And for most of them, they generally start off doing it because they enjoy it. They love it. It's one of the reasons behind my decision to start YouTube, but that is question number two. Question number one that I've kind of elected to answer is, how much does it actually cost to start a YouTube career? Now, this is going to be very, very different, but I thought with so many videos out there of people looking at how much money you can make from YouTube, I think it would just be interesting to look at it from the other side of the table. This year, I passed a very important personal milestone. I actually started making some money off YouTube, by which I mean I was no longer losing money every month, hand on fist. To put this into context, the first year of YouTube for me, I brought in less than £1,000. And in fact, most of that £1,000 is accounted for by 1 month. The sort of 4 or 5 months before that, I was earning on average something like £8 a month. That is no exaggeration. If you've done YouTube, you'll know what it's like. Now, part of that will be because when I did it, you could monetize at any level, and I monetized early. Now you've got to be at a certain level before you can do it. But that was the reality for me. It has taken just over 3.5 years to get to a stage where I can, hand on heart, say I do actually make some money out of YouTube. Not a lot, but some. And it's fantastic. It's wonderful. I love it. It's brilliant, and I wouldn't really swap it for anything else. However, I did do some rough maths and in my head and looked at things that I had when I started, what I've had to buy, what I've had to spend, so on and so forth. I estimate it's probably cost me the best part of about £60,000 to start a career on YouTube. That's actually a viable business. Now, I see that as a worthwhile investment. And, I look at my own analytics all the time, and I think that that was a sensible decision to make. I made sure that I had the money set aside to be able to afford to do that. I paid for my own career basically out of years in the film industry, but I also chose a side of YouTube which is not cheap to do. Doing car-related stuff, not cheap at all, because even at its most basic, you have to pay for fuel, travel, all that kind of stuff. And it's not really a particularly big market either. Compared to, say, the cosmetics industry, car YouTube is pretty damn small. Look at the really, really big channels, the Shmees, the Car Wows of the world. They have a couple of million subscribers, which is great, which is loads. If I ever get to that level, I'll be very happy indeed. But compare that to the cosmetics industry, where, in the teens of millions is really, really commonplace. And, kids' toys, stuff like that. YouTube's a funny, funny world. And cars just aren't a very big part of it, sadly. Now, I managed to work that figure out basically by looking at the fact that when I started YouTube, I had enough money to buy a brand new Lotus Evora, I bought a second-hand Elise, and I bought a Lotus XL. And now I have a Honda S2000, which I love, a Toyota Celica GT4, and an old BMW, and an old Mercedes. And the difference in value between those two sets of cars is probably about 60 grand. And I have no money in the bank to show for it for selling those cars. So that's basically what's happened. Is it was a constant dip and dive, but it's fine. But I thought I would kind of talk about that as a point of interest. What I think is even more interesting, more exciting for me, is why I actually got started. It's something I get asked very, very frequently. I also get asked, do I do this full-time now? Well, the truth is, I did this full-time from the very, very beginning. I used to work in film and TV, and low-budget film and TV, did a lot of low-budget features, that kind of thing. My career wasn't progressing how I wanted it to. That is almost certainly, to some extent, self-inflicted, because I am a complete dickhead, very difficult to work with, and I totally acknowledge that. I didn't like where the industry was going. I saw it as a race to the bottom. You had so many more people going into the film industry, people going to film school, people just buying cameras, thinking that they could do my job basically without really any knowledge, and they couldn't. And I just thought, this is not good. This is not going what I wanted it to be. I had in my head this kind of roadmap of where I wanted to be when I came out of film school, and it wasn't happening. It just was not happening. So I was kind of getting a bit depressed about it, to be perfectly honest. I used to live in London. I had to move out of London. I had to move to sort of a family home, which is where I am now. And I kind of thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with myself? I didn't want the last sort of 9 years of my life to have been a total waste. You know, going to film school, I was very fortunate in that I could get through film school, and my family very kindly sort of paid my way through that, and partly used an inheritance and a few other things to do that. But I didn't want that to have been a waste. I did, however, want to do something really, really stupid. Over the sort of 7 or 8 years that I worked in film professionally, I built up a big stack of film kit. I had some very, very expensive, very nice camera kit. And I just thought, you know, I had about 100 odd grand's worth of kit. And I just saw myself, I just thought I was subsidizing people's hobbies. I just started to get a bit annoyed with it. And I thought, you know what, I don't have a wife, I don't have kids, nothing like that. I got nobody that depends on me. I could sell all this kit and do something really stupid. Like really, really stupid. I go and buy a Ferrari or something like that. So I thought that would just be fun. Just screw it. I'll do that. So I was looking at different cars to buy, but by then the classic car market started climbing up, cars started getting more expensive. I originally wanted to buy like my first Ferrari. I wanted to buy like a Ferrari 360 for like 40 grand, or maybe go nuts and buy a 430 for like 60 grand, which at the time was attainable. But the prices had gone up. A 360 that was 45 grand was now like 65 grand. And I just thought, you know what, I don't think they're worth that much money, and anything that's gone from 45 up to 65 can very quickly go back down to 45 again. So I started looking at alternatives. And Lotus announced the brand new Evora 400. And I've always been very interested in Lotus, sort of, you know, never driven a Lotus, never sat in a Lotus in my life. Went to go and drive one, loved it to pieces, and then I sort of thought I should do some research. Did the usual thing, lots of reviews, you know, read a few magazines, went on YouTube, but there was so little content. There was stuff about reviews, there was launch reviews, that kind of stuff, but you could tell like all the reviews of the Evora 400 were basically shot on the same day, because it was the same car and the same place with the same crappy English weather. And I thought, this is interesting. So I started looking up Lotus videos on YouTube. There were barely any, not even for stuff like the Elise or the XEs, which I thought there would be. And I thought, hang on a minute, there's a gap here. And in my head, I employed like ultimate man maths. I thought, if I can somehow monetize this car, that would totally justify selling all my camera kit, because my camera kit did bring me an income. And I thought, I knew it would take a little while to do it, but I had a little nest egg kind of set aside. And I thought, yeah, this Lotus Evora 400 is something that nobody else really on YouTube has. So it would be my USP, my unique selling point, the thing that I've got, nobody else does. And that would just sort of, you know, make me stand out a little bit. Because I looked at stuff like R8s and things like that. But, like, you know, the R8 was already a car that was about to be replaced. It was kind of an old model. So, you know, it'd gone through its kind of new phase. Everyone was done with R8. And I wasn't particularly excited by the first gen R8 anyway. And so I just thought, hang on a minute. And although they're a local brand, so maybe they want to work with me one day, you know, I could get friendly with the dealers, all that kind of stuff. I thought this would be a really exciting place to start, because at the time there were already loads and loads of other car YouTubers out there. So I thought, yeah, let's do that. Let's go into the crazy world of YouTube. And that way I'm putting my camera skills to work, I'm putting my editing skills to work, I'm, you know, not wasting my entire career, you know, previously and switching to my new one. And that's kind of how it started, and that's a short version of what happened. And obviously things went on quite a bit from there, and if you want to know more specifically about how I kind of got from there to here, ask that down below and I'll try and answer those questions in the video. But that is all I wanted to say today. If you've been watching the channel, even if today's your first video or you've been here since the very beginning when I picked up the overall 400, thank you very much, really appreciate it. We hit 50k. That is fantastic. There is no specific 50k celebration video coming out because I'm just not that sort of person. But December is going to be a celebratory month. I've got a great theme. I think you're all going to enjoy it, and we have some awesome cars. Because honestly, I don't know about you lot, but that's what I'm here for. Cheers.